Hello, welcome again to Biology Made Easy. Today we will look at classification of the animal kingdom. We will look at the animal kingdom, Coelenterates, Echinoderms, Worms in this lesson. In our next lesson, we will look at the other. Now, let us look at the general characteristics of the animal kingdom. They are all eukaryotic and multicellular. The cells do not have chlorophyll. Animals ingest food and digest it, so they have heterophytic nutrition. That is holozoic or parasitic. Then they have a nervous tissue, except sponges who lack a nervous tissue. Then they are able to locomote or move about. Now let's look at the phyla of the kingdom Animalia. We have Coelenterates, Phylum Cnidaria or Coelenterata, Flatworms, Phylum Platyhelminths, Roundworms, Phylum Nematoda, Segmented worm, Phylum Annelida, Echinoderms, Phylum Echinodermata, Mollusks, Phylum Mollusca, Arthropods, Phylum Arthropoda, and Chordates, Phylum Chordata. Now, the animals can also be divided into two major ones. You have diploblastic ones, and we will explain what diploblastic means very soon. The diploblastic ones are the Coelenterates. Then all the other animals are triploblastic. Then we have the Coelenterates. They are radially symmetrical, radial symmetry. All the others are bilateral symmetry, except the echinoderms that they are only bilateral symmetrical when they are in the larval forms. When they are adults, they are radially symmetrical. Then also, if we take the triploblastic organisms, we have two types. The flatworms are acoelomate and the rest are coelomates. Now we want to explain the various terms. So in the animal kingdom, we have either diploblastic or triploblastic. Diploblastic means the body wall is made up of two layers of cells. Two layers on the left, two layers on the right, two layers. That in the middle of it is a whole enteron. The first outer layer is called ectoderm, the inner layer endoderm. In triploblastic organisms, the body wall is made up of three layers of cells. So 3 layers of cells, 3 layers of cells, and then there's a hole. The outer layer is called ectoderm, and there's a middle layer called mesoderm, and an inner layer endoderm. Good. Now with the triploblastic organisms, we have some that are acoelomate and others coelomate. The acoelomates are in the phylum Platyhelminths, the flatworms. In the flatworms, the mesoderm fills the whole space. There is no whole space in the mesoderm. So, in acoelomate organisms, you have ectoderm, mesoderm filling the whole space, and then you have an endoderm and a whole enteron. Because the mesoderm fills the whole space in flatworms, the platyhelminths, they are flat, so that substances can easily diffuse through. That's the flatworms. There are another type of triploblastic organisms, which are the rest of the phyla. They are all coelomates. Coelomate means that you have in the mesoderm, there's a space called coelom. And it is this space that you have transport systems like arteries and veins and capillaries. They form the spaces in the coelom. So in coelomate organisms, you have the ectoderm, you have the mesoderm, then you have the coelom, that's the space, and then you have another mesoderm, and then you have the endoderm before you have the gut. So that is the difference. Good. So now we want to look at the coelenterates, the phylum Coelenterata or Cnidaria. Look at examples of the coelenterates. The general characteristics of coelenterates are that the body is soft and jelly-like. See, the body is soft and jelly-like because it has two layers of cells in the body wall, and in between the two layers of cell is jelly called mesoglia. So that is what makes the organisms soft and jelly-like, mostly because of the mesoglia that is in between the two layers of cells. Then, as we have said, is radially symmetrical, and the body has only one opening called the mouth. And you see the hydra, and the mouth has a ring of tentacles surrounding the mouth. The tentacles have stinging cells, which when triggered, they penetrate prey and inject the prey with poison, so paralyzes the prey. Good. Now, coelenterates exhibit two forms during their life cycle. So that is known as polymorphism. All right. The two different forms are polyp form and medusa form. Polyp looks like a cup. It's sessile. Sessile means what? It's stuck to one place. And the medusa looks like a bowl. And this medusa is free swimming. And these are the two forms, the polyp and the medusa form. Now we'll look at examples and the differences between the polyp form and the medusa form. So you have the polyp, hydra, and then the medusa forms, Aurelia. And in some form, the polyp and medusa are seen. That is typically obelia. All right. So that is coelenterates. They are all aquatic. The adaptive features. One of the adaptations of coelenterates is that they are very soft. Now, when it's soft, organism is soft and it's in water, it can't be broken. All right. Organisms in water needs to be either soft, very soft, flexible, or dissected. If it's soft, waves cannot break it. It moves with the waves. And then if it's dissected, water currents just passes in between and doesn't tear the organism. Let's now look at another phylum, Phylum Echinodermata. These are all marine. The general characteristics: they have spiny body. They have 2 feet which end in sulcus. The body is 5-way radial symmetry. Only the larvae are bilateral symmetrical. Look at the sea urchin with its calcareous shell. You see that is showing the 5-way radial symmetry. There are two groups, that's class Cerulodii and class Echinodermata. Habitat, they are all in the seas. They are found in the intertidal zone, on the sand, attached to rock and rock pools. Then some are in deep ocean waters. Echinoderms make the greatest bulk of living organisms in deep seas. The adaptive features. Let's move on to look at worms. And we'll start by looking at flatworms, Phylum Platyhelminths. Yes, so the flatworms, characteristics is the body is dorsoventrally flattened, the body is unsegmented, they are acoelomate, they don't have an anus, they are usually hermaphrodites. Now, classes, we have class Tibellaria, class Trematoda, that's the flukes, class Cestoda, tapeworms. So let's look at them. We have flatworms in here. We've showed you some. Well, we have planaria. It has a mouth and irreversible pharynx. It can bring out its pharynx, shoot it out, and its mouth shoots. So that's a planaria. You have liver fluke. You have schistosoma. The male is big. It carries the female. And then you have the tapeworm. All right. Now, these flatworms have suckers, all right, to attach. The parasitic ones, liver flukes have these two suckers here. Schistosoma have a sucker. Tapeworm, look at its suckers, all right? And tapeworm looks like it's segmented. It's not true segments, they are false segments. Each of the segments is called a proglottid. They are segments that have reproductive structures. So one proglottic is just a reproductive segment. Each proglottid has male and female sex organs. And it is these proglottids that break and come out in feces of the organism. If it infects a man, you have proglottid in the feces of the man. The feces fall on grass and animals eat it and pork, and then they grow in the flesh of the pork, and when an uncooked pork, pork not cooked well, is eaten, the tapeworm gets into a man through the proglottids that was shed through feces. Now let's quickly look at roundworms. Roundworms are characteristically elongated, cylindrical, pointed at both ends, and the body is unsegmented. The body is covered with a thick elastic cuticle, and the body has a body cavity, has a mouth, and has an anus. So where do you find nematodes? Many are free living in the soil, and they help to make the soil fertile by punching holes, all right, aerate the soil. But there are many that are parasites. So you have hookworm, you have the guinea worm, you have ascaris, you have onchocerca, you have Wuchereria bancrofti, you have pinworms. Let's switch on to look at segmented worms. Segmented worms, as the name goes, their characteristics is the body is cylindrical, elongated, tapers to a point, and the body is truly segmented. Well, that's, you see, the body segments bear bristles called chitae to aid locomotion, and then the body has a cavity that it is coelomate. You can see the various types. You have classes. Polychaetae, they are marine worms. Oligochaetae are earthworms. Hirudinea are leeches. And they all have bristles called chaetae to aid locomotion. So you have Nereis or ragworm. You see, truly segmented. You see the segments, all right? And you see the bristles. This one, you see the bristles big, all right? That's the ragworm. You come to the earthworm, it's also truly segmented, all right? But the bristles, chaetae, are tiny, tiny, tiny. There's this smooth bit here called the clitorum. It has its use for reproduction. And then you have this leech. It's also a segmented worm. All right? All right. Now, this is a segmented worm that is living in a calcareous tube. It forms a tube, and this tube is calcified, hard. So it's calcareous. The segmented worm is living in this calcareous tube. That is it. Sepula, it's called. So you go into the marine, you see tubes lying there, sometimes as if there's nothing in it. There's an animal hiding in it. The leeches are very, very important too. They are in water. They can stick on the surface of the body and suck blood. There's a leech called Hyrido. This leech used to be used for medicinal purposes long ago to suck blood from people who they thought had too much blood. We've had a good run through parts of the animal kingdom. In our next lesson, we will look at the rest of the groupings of animals. We'll look at mollusks, arthropods, and chordates. Well, before we sign off, let's have an assignment. You know, earthworms, we see them all around. They are with us. They are not in the marine places. Write down the importance of earthworms. So, till we meet again in our next lesson, goodbye and thank you.